we are finally back talking about Age of Sigmar, and specifically the cities of Sigmar. Let's get into it. Welcome to Tattoo Tabletop. My name is James, and today we are talking about the new Cities of Sigmar Battletome. Very exciting time. I was at Adepticon when all the things got revealed for cities, including Gate Gargants. You have the Cog Fort, the multiple variations of the Cog Fort. You have the Grenadiers. You have Jorvan Creel, something like that. You have quite a few new tools in the tool chest, and it really shows in this book. I really appreciate it. This book is actually real nice and real thick. The artwork on the front is great, and we have gallants. We got a bunch of new tools, but the question is, are the rules any good? Well, let's get into them. So first and foremost, we're just going to cover a little bit of the book in terms of lore. The big lore is obviously the cog forts, and very specifically, the theme is very straightforward in this first little page here, where it is Hannah Toll and Armin Callis talking to Talia Vedra, and she talks about how she is going to be a lot more aggressive about cog forts, specifically their deployment out into the world. She has been criticized for sending them out. This is all lore narrative things, so if you don't particularly care, you can scoot ahead a little bit, but I'm just going to touch on it very briefly. So the big thing is the humans are coming out swinging. They were already doing these Dawnbringer crusades, sending out these little tendrils to establish, establishments, things of that nature, settlements, all that. But it seems to be that they are pushing harder this time. They're pushing back deeper into the realms, and they are planning on doing it a little bit more aggressively, and specifically with big cog forts. So that's the main part of your narrative. Obviously talks about the other aspects of the human side of things, because this book really cements the humans specifically. It takes out the non-humans, the elves, the dwarves. You can ally in dwarves and you can ally in elves, but specifically for the elves, you can ally in Lumineth Realm Lords, 2 units or 2 models, the Vanguard and the Sentinels, I think, the bows and the spears. You can ally them in, or for Fire Slayers, you can ally in the Magmapites or the Hearthkin or the Hearthguard range guys. I can't remember what they're called again off the top of my head, but Magmapikes and the Vulcan Flame Seekers. Not great in terms of the units that you can ally in. I appreciate that you can, but it would have been cooler to see a wider opening of that, maybe even Volkite Berserkers or something like that, which could be an indicator of things to come. Who knows? This might tell us a little bit more. It does talk about it in the book how a lot of the Dwarden have, with the return of Grungi, have returned to their Khazalid holds, to their Khazalid cousins. So that might be a link for our Khazalid hold rumor. But no rumors here, only facts. So what else does this book have? Well, it just goes through a bunch of the cities, does all that stuff, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How are our rules? First of all, let me just flip violently ahead here. Good lord. So, how are we looking rules-wise? We're looking great. I'm actually very excited. A lot of the rules here seem very solid. Our battle traits are form up. Pick a friendly Cities of Sigmar unit to use this ability, then pick 2 other visible friendly Cities of Sigmar units wholly within 12 of it to be the targets. This unit using this ability and the targets cannot be under orders and must be each a different type. And for the rest of the battle round, these units are under orders. So what does that mean? So essentially picking 3 units who are all 3 different types. That is very specific. That is the point. So you can't just go Free Guild Cavaliers, Free Guild Cavaliers, Free Guild Cavaliers. You can't even do Free Guild Cavalier Marshal, Free Guild Cavaliers, Free Guild Cavaliers. They have to be 3 different unit types. So a prime example that I think will probably be used mostly by me will be a Fusel Major on Orruk Warhulk, a tank, an Iron Wall Cannon, and a unit of Fusiliers. I think those are going to be my main 3 that I'll probably put under orders a lot. What do you get for the orders? Well, get 4 different abilities. Once per turn in your shooting phase, you can pick a unit under orders to use this ability. Pick one of the unit's ranged weapons, add 1 to hit rolls. Fantastic. Love it. Take aim, fire. Once per turn, you declare a charge ability for someone under orders. You can change the lowest D6 to match the highest d6. So if you roll a 6 and a 1, you can change that 1 to a 6. It's pretty dope. Love that. Into them, you dogs, any combat phase. Pick a friendly hero under orders, and that unit is a field officer, then pick 2. Basically, there's a lot of text here that essentially translates to, you pick something to be the field officer, that fights, and then you pick an inspirited unit and an emboldened unit. The inspirited unit fights, and then the emboldened. You get a triple activation, which is really, really good. I am very curious to see how this progresses. This could be very, very strong, and I'm very curious to see how City stacks up with this new book. So that's pretty cool there. The other option you have is hurl them back. Pick a friendly unit under orders and in combat with an enemy unit that charged this turn, and add 1 to the rend characteristics. All 4 of them are great abilities. I really appreciate it. I think the big thing that's going to probably catch people out is the form up ability, picking 3 different types. I think that's going to be a main thing, and also being wholly within 12. You pick 1 unit, and then you pick 2 other units wholly within 12 of that unit. So there's going to be a little bit of order operations like, yep, I picked this thing, and these are the 2 units that are wholly within 12. There's my others. So those are going to be the big ones. Great rules, great start. I'm very happy for that. Still not quite the orders I like. It like in 40k, I really like the Astra Militarum orders, but as far as abilities go for Cities of Sigmar, with the War Scrolls we have in this lovely book here, I think we're actually sitting in a pretty good spot. So let's just dive into a few of the battle formations. Stalwart Guardians, 2 little hast. Each time a friendly unit that is under orders uses rally, you can make 3 additional d6 rolls. Solid, not bad. There's some okay recursion in here, but not nearly the amount that you'd probably need or want. You'll probably pick this for very, very specific units. Zealous Hordes, once per turn, your enemy declares a fight ability. For the rest of the turn, add 1 to wound rolls for combat attacks made by friendly Sigmarite units that target the enemy unit using this fight ability. So your opponent declares a fight, and then for the rest of the turn, +1 to wound against made by friendly Sigmarite units. So your Sigmarites are going to be your free guilds. Those are going to be, so that's pretty good. +1 to wound. It's a flat +1 to wound, but 1 per turn. So you got to pick the right one. Master of the Arcane. Add 1 to arcane manipulation rolls and banishment rolls for friendly wizards that are under orders. These are very specific wizards. We will cover these a little bit later. We're not going to go into too much depth. I don't think that they're particularly potent, but it's a good thing to have. Swift reinforcements. Once per turn, your hero phase, Dawnbringer Crusade, bring a friendly non-hero Cities of Sigmar infantry unit wholly within friendly territory to use this ability, or pick a friendly. If that unit is in combat, it can move 6 inches. It can move through the combat ranges of enemy units and can only end that move in combat with the units it was in combat with at the start of the move. It does not have to end the move in combat. If that unit is not in combat, it can move 6 inches. It cannot move into combat during any part of that move. So that's the best one. I don't know what to tell you. Like I play every once in a while now, but I mean when I look at those, I think the other ones still have abilities. The +1 to wound is still very, very good there. But I would say your Dawnbringer Crusade, your free move once per turn, your hero phase is great. Move 6 inches. And that's not like you're just picking an infantry unit. You got some good infantry units. It's pretty solid. It also might just help you steal an objective before an opponent. So always great. Great battle formations. Heroic traits, there's a couple other ones. The heroic traits are all right. Grizzled Drillmaster, friendly units have a ward 6+ while they're wholly within 12 and under orders, specifically and under orders. These are the things, 2 keywords you're looking for as a Cities of Sigmar player. Under orders. So those are going to be your big contingencies. Those are going to be your big little details as you're making your way through the paragraphs, trying to make sure that you meet all the qualifications. The big one that you're probably going to miss 90% of the time is under orders. So just keep an eye out for that. Great example. Stentorian General, specifically for this. Subtract 1 from ward rolls for enemy units while they're within combat of any friendly units and are wholly within 12 of this unit and under orders. And under orders. Under orders. Everywhere has got to be under orders. So just keep an eye out for that. Fortunately, the artifacts don't have anything tied to the to being under orders, which is great. You also have Ironweld Innovations. You got 3 of them. Those are for your cog forts. Gives them specific abilities. There's some pretty solid stuff in there. Spell lore is okay. Speed of Twin-Tailed Comet makes a return. Goes off on a 6. Add 3 to the move characteristics of friendly non-war machine cities of Sigmar. So great news. That cog fort cannot just come sprinting at you specifically, which is great. So that one, and again, Holy Within 12. So it gives an extra move. That's your unlimited spell. Curse of the Scorched Metals, 7. Pick an enemy unit within 18 till the start of the next turn. The first time the target uses an attack ability for each unmodified hit roll of 1 made by that as a part of their attack, inflict 1 mortal damage. So basically, any ones your opponent rolls does mortals to them. So you're probably looking for the units that are big blobs and maybe like 20 gut rippers, or maybe there's a unit that just rolls a lot of attacks and there's only 5 of them. There's a chance they might just be able to mortal wound themselves out of oblivion. So that's actually a really good spell. That's actually probably one of my favorites. And then the other one is just High Stars Light. Goes off on 6. Pick a friendly cities of Sigmar Wizard. Cast Holy Within 12. Blah, 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 blah. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of the target's melee weapons for the rest of the turn. So pretty solid. Give them a little extra attack. Overall, great spell lore. Love it. Works great. Prayer lore is also pretty good. You have one that goes off on a 3, and if it goes off on a 7, you can pick 2, but basically ignore the first point of damage. It's solid. Nothing too crazy. I mean, the bigger thing might be against like diseased or anything like that. Reckoning of Sinners goes off on a 5. Chanting rolls 10. You can pick a second target until the end of the phase. Units have maximum control score of 1, so you can just pray away their control score, which is actually pretty good. I think that's pretty solid. It could come in handy in a few spots for sure. Benediction of the High Heavens. Pick a friendly visible unit with Holy Within 12. If it's 7+, do more. You heal D3 to the target and the chanter. If the chanting roll was 7+, heal D3 to each visible friendly cities of Sigmar unit Holy Within 12 of the chanter. So the one you'll probably see the most is Benediction of High Heavens. That one seems to be the best. You're going to heal yourself, and then occasionally you'll probably see Reckoning of Sinners purely on the basis of, just taking objectives off of your opponent. So again, solid prayer lore. It's pretty good. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Let's get into the war scrolls, and then I'll highlight a couple. I'm not going to go through every single one. You guys don't want to hear me talk for that long, I would imagine. If you do want me to hear me talk that long, then just let me know down in the comments, and I'll start doing it more. But for the most part, I'm just focusing on these. Talia Vedra got a fantastic facelift. She's got a 3-up save, 15 health, moves 12. She does plenty. She does have her once per battle add 1 to hit and wound rolls for friendly Sigmar units within 12. Great ability. Combat Technician. If she is not in combat, pick a friendly visible in Sigmar infantry unit wholly within 18. Then that is not in target, and they can make a normal move as if it were your movement phase. In addition, the target is under orders for the rest of the battle round. She is a great stack. That's on the enemy hero phase. So now you're moving, if you pick that Dawnbringer Crusade, you're moving in your hero phase. And now, with Talia Vedra, you're moving in your enemy's movement phase. Movement everywhere. It's almost like movement is the secret to the game, which it is. So, she's great. And her data profile is great. Again, 6 attacks, 3s, 4s, -1, 2 damage for her weapons of office. Infernodyne, anti-monster, rend 1. 3 attacks, 3s, 2s, rend 2, damage 3. So into monsters, rend 3. Great. Possibility of 9 damage there. And Infernodyne's Scorpid Stinger, crit mortal, 2 attacks, 4s, 2s, -2, D3 +3. So better, which is great. I love it. Talia Vedra, she's going in the list. She did get more expensive, but she's definitely going in the list. The other one I'll call out to Pontifex Sinestra with the prayers. She's already kind of a shoo-in because she's still a priest too. She's a ward 4-up. She has a 5-up save and a ward 4-up with 9 health. That is great. And she can also make it so that if anyone is killed within wholly within 12 of her, you can roll a dice for each model that's destroyed on a 6-up. It does immortal to the opponent. But the big reason you take her, Vessel of Sigmar, goes off on a 5. Spoiler alert, if the roll's an unmodified run, you can re-roll the dice. So you still might roll a 1 into a 1, but I mean, you're still going to re-roll that 1. It's going to be great. Pick one of the following effects. Pick up to 2 if it was 10 plus. Sanctified Ground until the start of your next turn. Visible enemy units that use a charge ability while they are within 9 of this unit have strike last for the rest of the turn. Great. Ardent Prayers, add 1 to Zealotry rolls for Sigmar units, which is the Zealotry roll is the great rule, is specifically, I think, attached to the Great Wheel turns. Yes, because that's a Zealotry roll. So Zealotry rolls on a 5-up, Mortals on a 5-up. Or Cast Out Evil, roll a d3 for each visible enemy wizard and priest on the battlefield on a 2+ inflict. So it's bad 2+, but again, the bad d3, but you're still inflicting mortal wounds consistently. And that's why you're bringing Zenestra. So not only that, but on a 4-up war, she is probably more survivable than you think until you're me, and then you roll a bunch of 3s and unders, and she just dies. So great stuff there. Again, everybody. The thing that this book did really well is everybody has a point and has a purpose, which is great. That's how it should feel. I think Cities of Sigmar does encourage you, for the most part, to bring a pretty balanced list. It does still benefit you to do so. You look at Alchemite Warforger, still there. Pick a friendly Sigmarite unit, Holy Fin 12 to be a target. Arcane Manipulation roll, which is, again, arcane. So each wizard has an arcane manipulation roll ability, and most of the time it's on a 3+. In that specific formation, it's a 2+. But on the 3+, melee weapons have crit mortals. So again, still great. Alchemite Warforger is still great. So does this stuff. Nell Mage, the Death Mage, removes commands. Goes off on a or no, his is for the rest of the turn while picking a friendly target for a Deathly Candlelight, which is his spell. You can pick a visible enemy within 18 rather than 12. So it's normally 12, goes off on a 7, and it removes commands. So still kind of a higher cast, but to be able to just roll a dice, 3-up, okay, now it's 18. That's the target I don't want to have commands. Boom. Great. Love it. Pyrocaster is okay. I'm just actually going to skip right on past the Pyrocaster. They are not great. You have Galen and Dorelia. You have Callus and Toll. They're still fantastic. The interesting bit, and this is what we still need to figure out, is the Free Guild Command Corps has been broken into 3 separate scrolls. So you have the Adjutants, which is the big champion dude and the little pupper. The Auxiliaries, which is, little ghost Pied Piper Man and the Surgeon. And then the Whisper Blade. Self-explanatory. They all have different abilities. They all do different things. It was very interesting to see them separate this out on a War Scroll. So we're still trying to figure out completely, because it does, I think, still show up as Free Guild Command Corps in the battle profile. But the way this is displayed is it makes it seem like they are 3 separate things now. They have some solid things. Adjutants, can, on a 3+, add 5 to a control score. Pretty big one. For the Auxiliaries, pick if it has a Soul Shepherd, which is Mr. Pied Piper Man. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18. On a 3+, they cannot be healed or have slain models returned to it until starting your next turn. That is great ability. It's got to happen on a 3+. And then, of course, on the 3+, for the Surgeon, pick friendly non-war machine on 3-up. Heal D3 slain models. If it's cavalry, retain 1 cavalry to it. If it's a hero monster, heal D3. Great medic abilities. Whisper Blade doesn't do nearly as much. 4 attacks now, and 3s, 4s, -2, damage 2 instead of damage D6. Specifically, it cannot be picked as the ability to form up, so it can't use any of the special abilities. And then, as long as it's within combat range of 3 or more models, specifically infantry models, it cannot be chosen as the target of shooting attacks or combat attacks. So it can actually kind of just hide into a unit of Free Guild or something and just kind of try and stab through there. So it's an interesting ability. I kind of enjoyed the spike of the. It still does have crit mortals, but I loved the idea of the D6 crit. It was really cool. Made him very assassiny. I loved it. Your Free Guild Cavaliers, still great. So very specifically, we're going to cover the Cavaliers because they have the Storm of Steel. If this unit is in combat and has not charged this turn, pick an enemy unit that is in combat with and up to 1 friendly Free Guild Cavalier Marshal within combat range of the target. So you're picking stuff that's near. If this unit is under orders, apply one of the effects below. Otherwise, roll a dice. So there's quite a few of these roll scores where it actually says if you're under orders, it just happens. If you're not under orders, you can still do this, but you have to roll a 3+. This unit and the friendly target can use a charge ability, even if it's not your charge phase, and even if those units are not in combat, both friendly units must end that move in combat with the same enemy target. Now, why would you do this? Well, number one, you can reposition to potentially go on to objectives, or more importantly, number two, your Free Guild Cavaliers and your Free Guild Cavalier Marshal get +1 damage on the charge. You're just keeping them so they're damage 2 constantly. So if they're under orders, it's happening automatically. If they are not under orders, you're rolling a 3-up, and you can still have that happen. It's great. You have your Gallants. Your Gallants are a 3-up save, 2-up health, 5 move. Basic big thing being when they don't move or when they stand still and don't use a charge ability, then they get +1 damage and +1 rend, which is great. Let me do it while they're under order. Oh yeah, while the unit is under orders, the melee weapons of visible friendly Sigmar units, excluding Free Guild Gallants, have the anti-charge rend 1, and then are specifically if this unit has not used a charge ability, add 1 to the attacks and damage characteristics. So they go up from 2 attacks to 3 attacks, and from damage 1 to damage 2, which is interesting. Not what I would have anticipated, but I'm okay with it. Having them be more of a defensive piece, and there is some tech to put them in a cog fort, specifically the transport cog fort. And then when they come out, you can actually release them into combat, and then they count as not having made a move or not making a charge, so they get the +1 attacks and they get the +1 damage, which is very good. Free Guild Grenadiers, they got a 10-inch shot, force 2s, -2, damage 1, and they have a Bardicha with 2 attacks, force 4s, -1, 2 damage, which is pretty solid for them. 4-up save, 1 wound apiece, pretty good. Gonna go through the rest of them. The big one that I want to highlight, my favorite change in this entire book, Free Guild Fusiliers. A lot of people picked them up when they came out. They're great. There's a lot of detail. There's a lot of painting. And then I felt like their rules did not feel as good as they should have. There was something missing to them. What was missing? Well, I think this might have solved it. So they're still a 5-inch move, 1 health, 4-up save. Their fusel cannon is still 18 inches, 1 shot, force 2s, -2, damage 1, which that's the big change, is going up to rend 2, which I think is actually great. I think this makes this unit infinitely more viable, especially if you put them under orders. They're not hitting on 3s, they're wounding on 2s, -2, damage 1. You're going to have a much better output on these. While they're under orders, these units' range weapons have shoot in combat, which is massive. That means if something runs into them and they survive, they can just unload in combat. And then also subtract 1 from the rend characteristic weapons used to target that unit, which is also fantastic. And you still have the Black Powder Squire. Remove this Black Powder Squire from the field, and then add 1 rend to the unit's range weapons for the rest of the turn. So it's when you declare a shoot ability, for this unit, and this unit is in combat. Interesting. Okay, so there is a prerequisite. You're using a shoot ability for this unit, and this unit is in combat. So it's got to be when they're in fighting range, and then they go to rend 3, which is great. That's going to punch through a lot of things. I mean, even if you have a 20 block of these with like a big monster or something like that, 1 shot, hits on 3s, wounding on 2s. If you're not suffering any minuses, rend 3 with flat damage. I think you're gonna do some serious work there. So I actually feel like Free Guild Fusiliers are back on the menu, which makes me the happiest. Wildercorp Hunters lost a little bit of their punch. They had a decent punch to them, but now they're used specifically because you pick this unit and 2 friendly non-monster, non-war machine Sigmar units, and they are now set up as scouting ahead. So you're pretty much using them to take 2 more units and put them into a sort of deep strike from the border's edge. You're setting them into reserves. And that's really good. That's a great ability. Also because that puts some of your army in reserve to pop out and to do some more damage later. I mean, you can do it with Free Guild Fusiliers. You can do it with big ranged weapon things. And that's going to do a lot. Obviously not a cannon. You can't push the cannon. Not while you're scouting ahead. So that's great. Cog forts. I'm not going to go too deeply into cog forts. You know what they do. They punch, they shoot, they do everything. One of them is more of a transport that's got a big 6d6 flamer, hits on 2s, wounds on 4s, -1, damage 1. Each one of these builds up heat tokens, so as you're using abilities, they ramp up, they get hotter. You gotta cool them, and they overheat, so you roll dice for that. For 5 pluses, you do damage to yourself. Cog forts were a massive focus of this book, which I'll discuss some more in my review. Gate Gargants. Gate Gargants are cool. I think they're a really nice addition to it. 5 attacks, hits on 4s, hits on 4s, wounds on 2s, -2, damage 3 with their Warm Ball, and they have a scatter shot cannon that's 5 shots, 4s, 3s, 1 damage, or Rend 1, damage D3, 3 up save, 10 health. I'm trying to figure out if that's 10 health per Gargant, or if that's 10 health total for 2 Gargants. If it's 2 Gargants, that's disturbing. If it's for per Gargant with a grand total of 20 health pool between the 2 of them, would make more sense to me. So I think that's what it is. For some reason, it didn't feel quite clear, which was weird. And then you have the Donner's Triumph, which is your tactical rock that you bring with you. Of course, you have all the painting stuff. You have all the spearhead stuff, Path to Exile. You obviously also have your Army of Renown, which is the all Cogfort bringer, candidate Cogfort, Immolator Cogfort, Conqueror Cogfort, and Linebreaker Cogfort. So all the Cogforts. There's so many of them. It's actually a little disturbing how many Cogforts you do have. And specifically, you also obviously have I believe it's the Regiment of Renown, where you can take a Cogfort and put it into another army. Any army, actually. Any army can take a Cogfort now, which was a little depressing, if we're being completely honest, just because of the fact that cities have been sitting on and waiting for these Cogforts for a while, and then everybody has access to them. So that is a thing that they have. Again, just to give you a rough idea too, Cogforts are 25 health, 3 up save, they move 6, control 10, they can stomp on you, they can shoot, they got so much stuff. And if this isn't GW screaming at you to buy every Cogfort that you possibly can, then I don't know what is. Yeah, there's a unit of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gallants, 1 priest, and 4 Cogforts. That is ridiculous, but nevertheless. So you have that, and you have a couple other ones in there. Again, this picture kind of just showing off the cooperation, the elves here helping, and the Fire Slayers. The 2 Fire Slayer units are kind of a weak choice. I will say, before I get too crazy here, looking at the allies and what their abilities are, it is kind of rough. Magma Pikes show 12 inches, crit 2 hits, 4s, 3s, -1, damage 1, so not damage D3. I really hope that this isn't an indicator of things to come for the Fire Slayer / Khazalid Holds book, because otherwise that'll be extremely depressing. Extremely. But we're not going to focus on that. We'll try and focus on the cities here. So you got some of the other stuff, the Rogue Engines, Outlaw, Cannonade, Cogfort, Outlaw, Conqueror, Cogfort. These are the ones that you can obviously ally into literally everybody. So that's kind of that deal there. So what do I think? Number 1, this is a great book. It is fantastic. I think there's going to be a lot of Cities of Sigmar players that are going to be very happy with this book. I think there's a lot of really great stuff in this book. And frankly, I am looking forward to eventually putting mine on the table. I've got to focus on a few more things first. However, I will say I don't particularly care for the extreme pushing of the Cogforts. This is a huge narrative focus and a huge rule focus to be like, take the Cogforts. Take every Cogfort, all the Cogforts all the time. Or at least take a Cogfort. Like, it's really pushing you for that. For those who haven't looked, the Cogfort in the US here is $210. It is one of the most expensive kits. I'm sure it is a really cool kit. I would love to build one myself. We'll see if I ever get one. But that is a large price point. So if you're doing the big Cogfort build and you're doing 4 of them, that's $840, not including tax. So you're spending just shy of $1,000 for all Cogforts, and that's going to vary across wherever you are. So Hopefully it's a little cheaper where you're at. Maybe it's not. But very specifically, I did not. That's one thing I did not care for. I did not care for the Cogfort celery that was going on here. It was very much pushing that. I mean, even this back photo here that shows some of the new units, you have Gallants, Grenadiers, the Gate Gargants, and of course, Talia, and then you have the Diamond Tramp, but you still have multiple Cogforts. You have two Cogforts just still chilling back there. So they were really, really pushing those for this book. But again, I do think this book is really good. I'm looking forward to trying it at some point. Definitely let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Taking a look at this, did you check out the rules ahead of time? Did you wait for this to find out whether or not you wanted to do this? Let me know down in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this content, feel free to like, share, subscribe. I massively appreciate it. I've got a very big trip coming up next week. I will post on my Instagram for all of that. I am very, 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 very excited about it. We've got some things. I will be playing some Sigmar. I'll give you that hint right off the bat. And I'll be playing some other things. So very, very exciting. But until next time, I've been Tattoo Tabletop. Go take up the coin, MALLEUS, and go paint something.